Kyle. Welcome, and thank you for joining me today to talk a little bit about your Catholic faith, your Catholic Christian faith, and also about RCIA at St. Stephen Catholic Community in Old Hickory. So I wanted to begin that way specifically by using this term Catholic Christian, but the reason I do so is to make the point that many Protestant Christians don't understand that Catholics are, in fact, Christians and the first Christians, as it were.
Right, for
so
sure.
With that in mind, I was hoping to just set the stage for you to tell us a little bit about your own faith background.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I was raised in Church of Christ and Christian church background. Grew up going to church as a kid and actually very much enjoyed the different churches that we went to, the people, the relationships. Our family was involved in a couple different church splits where people would have disagreements based on a variety of different topics and irreconcilable differences. And so, part of the church left and started a new church, right? So that was kind of interesting. As I moved into college, I started to drift away, I think, from, I would still attend church services and things like that, but I started focusing more on, science is a way to know truth. So never really left church per se, but over time started drifting away from a faith background. And so with that being said, over time, as I got older, I'd say a lot of my 20s and 30s, I kind of lived more of a secular, materialistic type of lifestyle. Eat, drink, and be merry, spend time with your friends, enjoy relationships, cultivate all of that sort of stuff. But religion wasn't per se on the top of my mind. So interestingly enough, as you get older and you kind of work through different challenges and experiences of life, be a few different times where, either through stresses of work or, maybe a position that I wanted that I wasn't selected for, or some things like that would kind of be triggers where I would feel a bit of a deep or a nagging anxiety or a feeling of, there's something more here that in the way of fulfillment that I'm not strictly getting out of, work and family, other relationships, things like that. So I wouldn't say that I didn't believe in God, but I definitely felt more like an agnostic at a certain point in my life where you have a variety of different religions across the world, right? All making different claims of truth. Among Christianity, you have, I think depending on the research you look at now, 30,000, 45,000 different denominations using the name of Jesus to speak for the truth. And I just kind of felt the feeling of despair that a lot of this is not knowable. And so it was around that time that I was reading some books from some of the more modern New Testament critics that would talk about different challenges and discrepancies in the New Testament and then other surviving Christian documents. And from that, some of the theories around that were that, history was written by the winners, right? And we have the flavor of Christianity that we have today because the Catholic Church wrote that history. And, at some point from it was very impactful and kind of in a negative way where, I never had a problem with Christianity as a religion. I felt like there's a lot of well-intentioned and well-meaning people and good things that would come from Christianity. But it was obvious to me from reading the book of Acts, other things like that the vision of what the Christian church and the Christian life was going to be was worlds away from, all the competing voices in our modern society. So over time, I would still continue to read, but I was reading Christian, non-Christian, other types of sources. I feel like my personal journey for the truth never really left. So from that, I know this is a long-winded answer to your question, but around
it's a great answer.
How I ended up in the Catholic faith, there was a couple different books that I was reading at the same time that both, first of all, the grace of God. God is the one nudging and moving in a lot of these directions. But one of the books I was reading was on the historical accuracy of the resurrection of Christ. And the way that this book was written, it took the details of the life and crucifixion of Jesus that religious, secular scholars all agree with. So for the fact that Jesus was a historical person, Jesus was crucified. The body, there's no body, right? So the author would take those sort of topics and then come up with what different theories have been used to explain all of those sort of answers, and which ones are more plausible, what are the challenges associated with different theories. And so from that one, I realized, and I remember telling my wife, I said, more likely than not, I see the resurrection as a historical event. And so that was probably the first step in the right direction. A side note I should mention with that is, as I was reading that book, that's where my eyes were open to the number of early Christian documents that were cited in that book that were not part of the New Testament 27, like 4 Gospels, 23 letters. There's a lot more there. And so I just started going on a reading spree through that. But that book was monumental to me. And then also, at the same time, I was reading a book on, written actually by a secular author in Rolling Stone magazine, but it was around how does the Catholic Church investigate miracles for the canonization of saints. Which,
not the usual best source for Catholic literature.
Exactly.
True.
But it was a fascinating book because it also opened my mind to the fact that the mystical and the supernatural still happen today. And I think sometimes in a world, we because science and the modern world explains so much, we don't necessarily feel the need for any other explanations for things that are supernatural or anything like that. So